They left me with 8 kids. When I asked for help, my son demanded $40 an hour. That sentence alone should tell you how far my family had fallen. But when Daniel actually sent me an invoice, itemized and everything, for watching his own siblings while I worked a double shift at the diner, I knew I had raised a stranger. You know what hurts more than betrayal? Betrayal wrapped in a smile, delivered with a kiss on the cheek. And if you've ever felt used by the people you'd die for, stay with me. I'm sharing something raw today, something that took me years to even speak out loud. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. These stories need to reach the people who feel invisible in their own homes, who give everything and get invoices in return. I'm standing in my kitchen in Chicago, the one with the yellow curtains I sewed myself 30 years ago, the ones with the small tear near the hem that I keep meaning to fix. My hands smell like dish soap and the meatloaf I just pulled from the oven. It's 6:30 in the evening, and I'm staring at my phone, reading Daniel's text message for the 5th time. The words haven't changed, but I keep hoping they will. Hoping I misread. Hoping this is some kind of joke I'm too tired to understand. The phone feels heavy in my hand, heavier than any phone should feel. The screen glows in the dimming kitchen light, casting blue shadows across the worn countertop. I notice my reflection in the darkened window above the sink. A tired woman with gray hair pulled back in a messy bun, lines etched deep around her eyes and mouth. When did I start looking so old? When did the weight of the world settle so permanently into my shoulders? Mom, about watching the kids next week. My rate is 40 hour. Let me know if that works. Professional childcare costs more, so I'm actually giving you a deal. Daniel. A deal. My own son, the boy I rocked to sleep when he had colic for 6 months straight, the child I fed before I fed myself during those years when his father left and money was a ghost that haunted every corner of our tiny apartment. That boy is now a man who charges me $40 an hour to watch his own siblings. I read the message again, parsing each word like I'm studying a foreign language. My rate, like he's running a business. Professional childcare, like I'm a client, not his mother. I'm actually giving you a deal, like I should be grateful for the discount on his humanity. I set the phone down on the counter, my hand shaking just enough that the device makes a small clatter against the laminate. The sound echoes in the empty house. Empty because right now, at this very moment, all 8 children I've been raising for the past 2 years are at various activities, picked up by neighbors, by the church van, by anyone except their actual parents. The silence feels wrong. After 2 years of constant noise, children laughing, crying, arguing, playing, the quiet presses against my ears like water. I can hear the refrigerator humming, the old clock on the wall ticking away seconds, the distant sound of traffic from the street outside. These are sounds I used to know well, before my house became a daycare center, before my life became an endless rotation of other people's needs. Let me paint you the picture of how I got here, how a woman of 63 ends up responsible for 8 grandchildren and step-grandchildren, working 50-hour weeks at a diner where the coffee is always burnt and the tips are never quite enough. It started with my daughter, Rebecca. Beautiful Rebecca, with her father's green eyes and my stubborn chin. She got pregnant at 17, had the baby at 18, and by 19, she was gone. Not dead, just gone. California, she said, going to find herself. She left little Emma with me, just for a few months, she promised. That was 12 years ago. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Rebecca standing in this very kitchen, Emma sleeping in the car seat at her feet. My daughter's eyes were red from crying, but there was something else in them too, a desperate kind of hope, like she was drowning and California was the only life raft she could see. I just need some time, Mom, she'd said, her voice barely above a whisper. Just a few months to get on my feet, to figure things out. You understand, right? You've always understood. And I did understand. I understood that she was scared, overwhelmed, too young to be a mother. I understood because I'd felt that way too when her father left me with 4 children and no child support. But I'd stayed. I'd fought through the fear and exhaustion. I'd raised my children because that's what mothers do. I thought Rebecca would come back. I thought those few months would stretch into 6, maybe a year. I never imagined it would be 12 years and counting. Then my son, Marcus. He got involved with a woman who already had 3 kids from 2 different fathers. They had 2 more together, and when she decided motherhood wasn't her calling, she left them all with Marcus. And Marcus, bless his heart, he tries. He works construction, leaves at 5 in the morning, gets home at 7 at night, too exhausted to be anything but a body in a chair. So the 3 kids, his 2 kids, they became my responsibility too. Marcus is different from Rebecca. He didn't abandon his children. He just couldn't manage them alone. I watched him try, those first few months after Clarissa left. He'd wake up at 4 in the morning to pack lunches, drop kids at 3 different schools, work a full shift hauling materials in the Chicago heat or cold, then come home to homework and dinner and bedtime routines. He'd fall asleep in his chair most nights, still in his work boots, too tired to even make it to bed. "I'm failing them, Ma," he told me one night, his voice cracking. He was sitting at this same kitchen table, his head in his hands, calluses on his palms from years of hard labor. "I'm trying so hard, but I'm failing them. Tyler got in trouble at school again. I didn't even know there was a parent-teacher conference. I forgot to sign Emily's permission slip. The baby had diaper rash for a week before I noticed. What could I do? Let him fail? Let those children suffer because their father was working himself to death trying to provide for them? So I stepped in. I took them after school. I managed the homework and the permission slips and the doctor's appointments. I became the mother they didn't have and the support Marcus desperately needed. My youngest daughter, Angela, she's still here in Chicago, but she's working 2 jobs trying to finish her nursing degree. Her twins, Jason and Julia, they're with me most days because daycare costs more than she makes. Angela is the one I thought would make it. She's smart, driven, determined to break the cycle of poverty that's haunted our family for generations. She works as a certified nursing assistant during the day and waits tables at night, taking online classes whenever she can squeeze them in. The twins are 7 now, bright-eyed and energetic, and they need more than Angela can give while working 80 hours a week. "It's temporary, Mom," Angela always says, "just until I finish my degree. Once I'm an RN, I'll be making enough to afford daycare, to cut back my hours, to actually be there for them." I believe her. I do. But temporary has a way of stretching out in this family. Rebecca's few months became 12 years. Marcus's, just until I get on my feet, has been 3 years and counting. How long will Angela's temporary last? And then there's Daniel's daughter, Sophie. His ex-wife moved to Seattle, started a new life. And Sophie, sweet Sophie with her quiet voice and her love for drawing, she didn't fit into that new picture. So Daniel brought her here. To me. Said it was temporary. That was 18 months ago. Sophie is the quiet one, the child who never asks for anything, who makes herself small as if trying not to be a burden. She's 6 years old and she draws pictures of families, mothers, fathers, children holding hands under bright suns and rainbow skies. But in her pictures, the mother is always missing. Just a blank space where a woman should be. I found her crying in my bedroom last week, clutching a photo of her mother. "Does she miss me, Grandma?" Sophie asked, her voice so small I could barely hear it. What do you say to that? How do you explain to a 6-year-old that her mother chose a new life that didn't include her? That some people just walk away from their children like they're old clothes that don't fit anymore? "She loves you, sweetheart," I said, holding Sophie close. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. But you're here with me, and I love you very much. It's not enough. I know it's not enough. But it's all I have to give. 8 children, ranging from 4 years old to 12. 8 different schedules, 8 different needs, 8 different hearts that I'm trying to keep from breaking the way mine has been broken. I raised 4 children of my own. I thought I was done. I thought I'd get to be the grandma who bakes cookies and sends birthday cards and shows up for recitals without having to coordinate carpool schedules and doctor appointments and parent-teacher conferences. I had plans, small dreams that seemed so achievable when I was 60. I was going to travel, nothing extravagant, just a bus tour through New England to see the fall leaves. Maybe a trip to visit my sister in Florida. I was going to take an art class at the community center, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for while raising my own children. I was going to sleep past 6 in the morning. I was going to read books that weren't children's stories. I was going to have time for myself. But life doesn't care what you thought would happen. I look around my kitchen, at the crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator, at the stack of permission slips I need to sign, at the calendar on the wall that's so full of colored markers and notes that you can barely see the actual dates anymore. This is my life now. This is what love looks like when it's been taken for granted so long it's turned into obligation. The meatloaf is getting cold. I should wrap it up, portion it out for the week's lunches. That's what I do now. I plan. I budget. I stretch every dollar until it screams. I make $17 an hour at the diner before taxes. I work the early shift, 5 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, so I can be here when the kids get home from school. Some days I pick up extra hours, covering for other waitresses, standing on feet that ache deep in the bones, smiling at customers who snap their fingers at me like I'm a dog. The diner is called Rosie's, though there hasn't been a Rosie there in 20 years. It's a relic from another era, with cracked red vinyl booths and a counter that's been wiped down so many times the pattern has worn away. The owner, a man named Bill who inherited the place from his father, hasn't updated anything since 1995. The coffee maker breaks down twice a week. The air conditioning doesn't work in summer. The heating is spotty in winter. But it's work, and it's close to home. And Bill doesn't ask questions when I need to leave early for a school emergency, or when I show up with circles under my eyes so dark I look like I've been in a fight. My coworkers are mostly women like me, older, worn down by life, working because we have to, not because we want to. Linda's been there 23 years, Patricia, 19 years. We move through the morning rush like a well-rehearsed dance, pouring coffee, taking orders, delivering food, clearing tables, over and over and over. I do this because 8 children need to eat, because 8 children need clothes that fit, school supplies, birthday presents, Christmas presents, shoes that don't have holes, jackets for the Chicago winter that bites through everything. My savings, the little nest egg I'd built up from years of working, years of being careful, it's gone, evaporated, spent on emergencies and necessities and the constant grinding need of feeding, clothing, housing 8 growing bodies. I had $14,000 saved. It took me 15 years to save that money. 15 years of putting aside $20 here, $50 there, skipping the things I wanted so I could build something for my future. I had a plan for that money. I was going to fix the roof. There's a leak in the corner of the living room that I have to put a bucket under every time it rains. I was going to replace the ancient water heater that makes ominous groaning sounds. I was going to take that trip to Florida to see my sister, the one I hadn't seen in person in 8 years. Instead, it went to Emma's braces. $1,200 because her teeth were so crooked, the dentist said it would affect her ability to eat properly if we didn't fix it. It went to medical bills when Marcus's kids all got the flu and one of them ended up in the emergency room with dehydration. $2,000, even with the payment plan. It went to new beds when the old ones broke, because I couldn't have children sleeping on mattresses on the floor. It went to winter coats and boots, to school fees and field trips, to a new transmission for my car when the old one died, and I had no other way to get to work. $14,000 vanished like smoke. And now my bank account has $437 in it, and that has to last until Friday. Daniel knows this. He knows I'm stretched so thin I'm transparent. He knows I work myself to exhaustion just to keep everyone fed. And yet, he sends me that text message, $40 an hour. I pick up my phone again, scroll up through our conversation history. Last week, I asked him if he could watch the kids on Thursday, just for 4 hours while I went to a doctor's appointment I'd been putting off for months. A lump in my breast that I've been too scared and too busy to get checked. The lump. I don't like to think about it, but it's there. A constant presence whenever I shower or change clothes. I found it about 6 weeks ago, a small, hard mass just above my left breast. It's probably nothing, I told myself. Just a cyst. Women get them all the time. But the rational part of my brain, the part that used to be a nursing assistant before I had children, knows that lumps need to be checked, knows that early detection is everything, knows that ignoring it could be a death sentence. But how can I take time for a doctor's appointment when there's no one to watch the kids? How can I spend money on medical tests when I'm choosing between buying new shoes for Tyler and paying the electric bill? How can I focus on my own health when 8 children depend on me for everything? So I've been putting it off, telling myself I'll make an appointment next week, next month, when things are less chaotic, as if things are ever less chaotic. He didn't respond for 2 days. When he finally did, it was a maybe. Then yesterday, it was a yes, but we need to discuss compensation. Compensation. For watching his own sister's child, for watching his own half-siblings, for spending 4 hours with children who share his blood. The word itself feels like a slap. Compensation. As if family helping family is a business transaction that requires payment. As if the years I spent compensating him, feeding him, clothing him, loving him, sacrificing for him, mean nothing now. I type out a response. Delete it. Type another one. Delete that too. What do you say to something like this? What words exist for the kind of hurt that comes from knowing you raised someone capable of this kind of coldness? My fingers hover over the keyboard. I want to type. I changed your diapers. I walked you to school every day for 8 years. I worked 3 jobs to pay for your college applications. I sat in the emergency room with you when you broke your arm, and I slept in a chair beside your hospital bed because you were scared. I gave you everything, and now you want to charge me $40 an hour to spend time with your own family. But I don't type that. Instead, I just stare at the screen, my throat tight with unshed tears. I remember Daniel as a little boy, how he used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, how he'd wrap his small arms around my neck and tell me I was the bravest person in the world. I remember teaching him to tie his shoes, to ride a bike, to stand up for himself when the bigger kids picked on him. I remember staying up all night with him when he had pneumonia, holding him while he coughed and cried, promising him he'd be okay, that I'd always take care of him. He was 8 when his father left, old enough to understand what was happening, young enough to be devastated by it. He cried every night for months, asking when Daddy was coming back, why Daddy didn't love us anymore. I held him through those tears, told him it wasn't his fault, that sometimes adults make bad choices, but it doesn't mean their children aren't loved. He became the man of the house, he used to say. At 8 years old, he'd try to help with his younger siblings, try to fix things around the apartment, try to be strong for me. I loved him for trying, but I also ached for the childhood he was losing, the carefree years that disappeared when his father walked out the door. I put him through college. Well, we put him through together. He worked part-time, took out some loans, and I paid what I could, which meant I worked extra shifts and cut every corner possible. When he graduated with his business degree, I was so proud. I thought finally, one of my children is going to have the life I couldn't give them. Finally, all the sacrifice is paying off. And now he's a marketing manager at a firm downtown, making more money than I've ever made in my life, driving a car that costs more than I make in a year, living in an apartment with granite countertops and a doorman. And he charges his mother $40 an hour. I kept that promise. Even when his father left, even when money was so tight I was eating cereal for dinner so he could have a proper meal, even when I was so tired I could barely stand, I kept that promise. I took care of him, and now he wants $40 an hour to take care of the family I'm still protecting. The front door opens and I hear the chaos of children arriving home. Emma's voice, high and excited, talking about something that happened at school. The twins arguing about whose turn it is to pick the TV show. Little Sophie, quiet as always, just the soft sound of her backpack hitting the floor. "Grandma? Grandma?" Julia calls out, her feet pounding through the house. Guess what happened today? I paste on a smile, the same smile I've worn for 2 years straight. The smile that says everything is fine. Grandma's got this. Don't worry about anything. I move toward the living room, already mentally calculating dinner, homework help, bath time, story time, the endless rotation of needs that won't stop just because my heart is breaking. Emma bounds in first, her long brown hair flying, braces glinting when she smiles. She's 12 and growing so fast, I can barely keep up with buying her new clothes. Grandma, I got an A on my science test. Mrs. Rodriguez said it was the best in the class. That's wonderful, sweetheart, I say, pulling her into a hug. She smells like the strawberry shampoo I buy in bulk at the discount store, like pencil shavings and youth. I'm so proud of you. The twins tumble in next. Jason and Julia, both talking at once about something that happened on the playground. They're 7, energetic as puppies, constantly in motion. I try to follow their story, something about a kickball game and someone cheating and someone else crying, but it's hard to track when they're both talking over each other. Tyler slopes in behind them, Marcus's oldest at 11, wearing the perpetual scowl he's adopted this year. He's been getting in trouble at school, talking back to teachers, getting into fights, refusing to do his work. The counselor says he's acting out because of the instability at home, the absence of his mother. I know she's right, but knowing why doesn't make it easier to handle. How was your day, Tyler? I ask, keeping my voice gentle. He shrugs, dropping his backpack on the floor with a thud. Fine. Did you have that math test today? Another shrug. I guess. I want to push, to ask if he studied, if he thinks he did well, if he needs help with anything, but I can see from the set of his shoulders, the way he won't meet my eyes, that pushing will only make him retreat further. So I let it go for now, adding it to the mental list of things I need to follow up on later. But as I walk, I catch my reflection in the hallway mirror. When did I get so old? When did these lines etch themselves so deep around my mouth, around my eyes? When did my hair turn this gray? I'm 63, but I look 70. I feel 80. The woman looking back at me is a stranger. Her hair, once a rich brown, is now steel gray and thinning at the temples. I wear it pulled back because I don't have time to style it, and because the children sometimes pull on it when they hug me. Her skin is pale, almost translucent, with dark circles under her eyes that no amount of concealer can hide. Not that I wear makeup anymore. Who has time for that? Her clothes are practical, worn, jeans from the clearance rack, a sweater with a small hole under one arm that I've been meaning to mend. But it's the eyes that get me. They look tired, not just physically tired, but soul tired, the kind of exhaustion that sleep can't fix. I see the woman I used to be, lurking somewhere behind these tired eyes. She was strong. She was vibrant. She had dreams that extended beyond surviving each day. She wanted to travel, to paint, to maybe fall in love again. She wanted a life that was hers, not a life spent cleaning up everyone else's messes, sacrificing everything on the altar of family obligation. I remember her. She used to laugh more. Really laugh, not the tired chuckle I manage now. She used to sing while she cooked, dance in the kitchen while the radio played. She used to look at the future with hope instead of dread. When did she disappear? Was it gradual, a slow fading like a photograph left in the sun? Or was there a moment, a specific point where I stopped being me and became just this? A collection of obligations and responsibilities and sacrifices? That woman is disappearing, fading like an old photograph left too long in the sun. And I realize, standing there in my hallway with the sounds of children filling my house, that Daniel's text message isn't really about money. It's about something much worse. It's about the fact that everyone has learned they can take from me without giving back. They've learned that I'll always say yes, always show up, always sacrifice, always put myself last. They've learned that my love has no bottom, that they can keep taking and taking and I'll keep giving and giving, even when there's nothing left to give. I've taught them this, by never saying no, by never setting boundaries, by never demanding the respect and reciprocity that every human being deserves. When Rebecca left Emma with me, I should have given her a timeline, should have said, "You have 6 months to get on your feet, and then you need to either come back or we need to make other arrangements." But I didn't. I just said yes and kept saying yes until 12 years had passed. When Marcus struggled with his kids, I should have helped him find other solutions, subsidized daycare, parent support groups, household help. Instead, I just took over, made it easy for him to rely on me completely. When Angela asked if the twins could stay just for a few months, I should have helped her find a better long-term solution. But I didn't. I just absorbed 2 more children into my life and pretended it was sustainable. And Daniel. When he brought Sophie to me, I should have said, "I'll help, but you need to stay involved. You need to take her on weekends. You need to be her father, not just her bank account." But I didn't say any of that. I just took Sophie and let Daniel walk away, comfortable in the knowledge that Mom would handle it. I've taught my children that I'm infinite, that I don't have limits, that I don't have needs of my own. And now I'm paying the price. Emma runs up to hug me, her skinny arms tight around my waist, and I hug her back, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo, feeling the sharp points of her elbows against my sides. I love her. God, I love her so much. I love all of them. That's never been the question. The question is, when does love become self-destruction? When does giving become losing yourself? When does family become a cage you've locked yourself inside? I don't have the answers yet. But standing there, with Daniel's text message still glowing on my phone, and 8 children needing dinner and homework help, and emotional support and everything else, I know something has to change. I just don't know if I have the strength to change it. That night, after dinner is eaten and dishes are washed and homework is checked and teeth are brushed and stories are read, and finally, the house is quiet. I sit alone at my kitchen table. It's 11:30. I have to be up at 4 tomorrow morning for my shift. The dinner had been the usual chaos. Not enough chairs, so the younger kids eat in shifts. Tyler barely touched his food, pushing it around his plate while staring at nothing. Emma helped me serve, like she always does, taking on responsibilities no 12-year-old should have to handle. The twins spilled milk, twice, and Sophie sat so quietly I had to keep checking to make sure she was actually eating. After dinner came homework, Emma's algebra, which I struggled to help with because math was never my strong suit. Jason's reading assignment, 20 minutes that turned into 40 because he kept getting distracted. Julia's spelling words, which she needs to practice every night, even though she already knows them all. Tyler's history worksheet, which he claimed he didn't have until I found it crumpled at the bottom of his backpack. Then baths. The twins together, splashing and playing, getting more water on the floor than on themselves. Sophie by herself, taking so long I had to knock on the door to make sure she was okay. Emma's old enough to shower on her own now, thank God, one less thing for me to manage. Then bedtime stories. Sophie always wants the same book, about a little girl who finds a magic garden. I've read it so many times I have it memorized, but she still insists on hearing it every single night. The twins want adventure stories with dragons and knights. Emma's too old for bedtime stories, but sometimes she lingers in the doorway, listening, like she's not ready to let go of childhood completely. And through it all, I'm checking the clock, calculating how much sleep I might get if everyone settles down in the next 15 minutes, in the next 30 minutes, in the next hour. But I can't sleep yet. I need to understand how I got here. I need to trace the path that led from being a mother who sacrificed for her children to being a grandmother who sacrificed so much she's disappeared. I think back to when my husband left, 28 years ago. The kids were young. Daniel was only 8. Robert said he couldn't handle it anymore, the stress of providing for a family, the responsibility. He wanted his freedom. So he took it, and he left me with 4 children and a mortgage I couldn't afford on my waitressing salary. I can still see him standing in this kitchen, the same kitchen where I'm sitting now. It was early morning before the kids woke up. He had a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, packed with clothes and the few things he cared about. His face was set, determined, like he'd already made the decision and nothing I could say would change it. "I can't do this anymore, Carol," he said, not angry, not emotional, just done. "I feel like I'm drowning. Every day it's the same thing. Work, bills, kids needing something. You needing something. I can't breathe." "You can't breathe?" I remember my voice rising, trying to keep it down so the children wouldn't wake. "What about me? You think I can breathe? You think I don't feel the same pressure?" "That's different," he said. "You're good at this, the mom thing, the family thing. It comes naturally to you." "It doesn't come naturally, Robert. I work at it. I'm exhausted all the time, but I don't get to just leave when it gets hard." But he did leave, walked out the door at 6 in the morning and never came back. The divorce papers came 3 months later. The child support payments came sporadically for a year, then stopped altogether. I hired a lawyer, couldn't afford it but did it anyway, to chase him down. But Robert had moved to Nevada, working under the table, untraceable. So it was just me. And 4 children who needed to eat and have clothes and go to school and feel loved despite the fact that their father had abandoned them. I worked 3 jobs back then. Mornings at the diner, afternoons cleaning houses, nights at a grocery store. I slept maybe 4 hours a night. The kids raised themselves in a lot of ways. Daniel looking after his younger siblings while I worked. Maybe that's where this started. The expectation that family takes care of each other, that we all pitch in, that there's no keeping score. Daniel would get his siblings ready for school, make them breakfast, cereal and toast, nothing fancy. He'd walk them to school, all 4 of them in a line, the oldest watching out for the youngest. Teachers used to comment on how responsible he was, how mature for his age. I was proud of him, but also heartbroken that he had to grow up so fast. After school, they'd let themselves in. I made sure Daniel had a key, and they'd do homework or watch TV until I got home. Daniel would start dinner sometimes, simple things like mac and cheese or hot dogs. He was 8 years old, cooking for his siblings because I wasn't there to do it. I used to cry in my car between jobs, in the 10-minute gaps I had to drive from the houses I cleaned to the grocery store. I'd sit there in the parking lot, my hands smelling like bleach and ammonia, and I'd cry because I was missing my children's childhoods. I was missing school plays and soccer games and lazy afternoons at the park. I was missing everything except the bare minimum of keeping them alive and fed. But I told myself it was temporary, just until I could get on my feet, save some money, find a better paying job, just until things got easier. They never got easier. Except now Daniel's keeping score, and he's decided his time is worth $40 an hour, while mine is apparently worth nothing. I provided everything for my children. I worked myself to the bone to make sure they had what they needed, that they didn't feel the poverty that was crushing me. I wanted them to have better lives than I did. I wanted them to have opportunities, education, choices. I wanted them to go to college. None of my siblings did. We couldn't afford it. I barely graduated high school because I had to work to help support my family. Education was the key, I believed, the way to break the cycle of poverty that had trapped my parents, my grandparents, generations of our family. So I pushed education. I helped with homework every night, even when I was so tired I could barely see straight. I went to parent-teacher conferences, advocated for my kids, made sure they were in the right classes. I bought books at garage sales, took them to the library every week, read to them when they were little, and encouraged them to read on their own when they got older. Rebecca was smart, so smart. She tested into the gifted program in elementary school. I was so proud. I imagined her going to a good college, becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. But high school was hard for her. She was pretty, and boys noticed, and she started caring more about social stuff than academics. She met Emma's father her junior year, a boy who dropped out of school and worked at an auto shop. I tried to warn her, Tried to tell her she was too young, had too much potential to waste. But the more I pushed, the more she pulled away. When she got pregnant at 17, I felt like I'd failed her. Failed to protect her, failed to guide her, failed to give her the future she deserved. But I tried to support her anyway. Told her we'd figure it out, that having a baby didn't mean her life was over, that she could still go to college, still have dreams. But after Emma was born, Rebecca sank into a depression so deep I didn't know if she'd ever come out of it. She'd sit in her room for hours, staring at nothing. She'd hold Emma, but there was no connection, no light in her eyes. I thought it was postpartum depression, tried to get her help, but we didn't have insurance, and the free clinics had 6-month waiting lists. When she left for California, a part of me was relieved. I hate admitting that, but it's true. She was so miserable, so lost. I hoped California would help her find herself, heal whatever was broken inside her. I didn't realize she'd never come back, didn't realize that finding herself meant leaving her daughter behind permanently. Rebecca went to community college for a year before she got pregnant and dropped out. Marcus barely graduated high school. Angela's still trying, still fighting for that nursing degree, and I'm proud of her for that, even if it means I'm raising her twins. Daniel, he went to college, got a degree in business, has a good job at a marketing firm downtown. He makes good money, he drives a new car, he lives in a nice apartment in a nice neighborhood, and he charges his mother $40 an hour to watch his sister's child. Daniel was supposed to be my success story, the one who made it. He worked hard in school, got scholarships that covered most of his tuition, graduated with honors. He got a job right out of college, started climbing the corporate ladder. He's successful by any measure, good income, nice apartment, career trajectory that points up. But somewhere along the way, he forgot where he came from. Forgot the sacrifices that made his success possible. Or maybe he remembers and just doesn't care anymore. I pull out my phone, scroll through my banking app. My checking account has $437 in it. That has to last until my next paycheck in 5 days. I've got groceries to buy, gas to put in my ancient Honda that makes a terrible grinding sound every time I start it, Emma's class trip fee that's due tomorrow, and the electric bill that's already 2 weeks overdue. I open my calculator app and start doing math. Groceries, if I'm very careful, $120. Gas, $40, maybe $50 if the price has gone up again. Emma's class trip, $30. Electric bill, $115 plus a late fee of $15. 120 plus 50 plus 30 plus 130 equals $330. That leaves me with $107 for anything else that comes up. And something always comes up. Someone needs new shoes because they've grown out of their old ones. Someone needs poster board for a school project. The car makes a new weird noise that probably means something expensive is about to break. I used to have a buffer. That $14,000 in savings meant I could handle emergencies without panicking. The car breaks down? No problem. I have money for repairs. Someone gets sick. I can afford the doctor visit and medication. Unexpected school fee? Covered. Now I'm living on the edge of disaster every single day. One emergency away from not being able to pay rent. One unexpected bill away from choosing between electricity and food. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in expenses that never end, and my son wants to charge me $160 for 4 hours of his time. 4 hours, $160. That's more than a week of groceries. That's 2 electric bills, that's gas for a month, and he calls it a deal. The anger comes then, hot and sharp. It rises in my chest, fills my throat, makes my hands shake. I want to call him. I want to scream at him. I want to ask him how he became this person, this stranger who values money over family, who sees his own mother as a transaction, who's forgotten every sacrifice I ever made for him. But I don't call, because under the anger is something worse. Fear. Fear that if I confront him, he'll say no entirely. Fear that I'll lose even this fragile connection. Fear that I'll end up completely alone, with 8 children to care for and no help at all. What if I tell him how his text made me feel, and he gets defensive, angry? What if he decides I'm being unreasonable, too demanding? What if he stops answering my calls altogether? At least now he responds eventually, even if it's with a price tag attached. What if I lose even that? And Sophie? If Daniel gets angry at me, will he take Sophie away? Put her in some daycare where she'll be one of 20 kids? Where no one will notice how quiet she is, how much she's hurting? Or worse, will he send her to his ex-wife in Seattle, to the mother who didn't want her in the first place? So I swallow the anger. I swallow the hurt. I swallow the words that want to come screaming out. And I type a response to his text message. Daniel, I can't afford that. I was hoping you could help his family. I have a doctor's appointment I really need to make. I hit send before I can second-guess myself. Then I sit there, staring at the screen, waiting for the 3 dots that will tell me he's typing a response. They don't come. I wait for 20 minutes. Nothing. The screen stays dark, mocking me with its silence. I put the phone down and rest my head in my hands. My body aches, deep exhaustion that goes beyond physical tiredness. It's the weariness of carrying everyone else's burdens, of being strong when I want to collapse, of smiling when I want to cry. My neck is stiff from hunching over at work, from looking down at homework and dishes and children. My lower back has a constant pain that never goes away, legacy of years on my feet. My knees creak when I stand, arthritic and worn. My hands are dry and cracked from constant washing, constant cleaning. I'm 63 years old, and my body feels ancient. I'm taking blood pressure medication because my doctor says my stress levels are through the roof. I'm supposed to take calcium supplements for my bones, but half the time I forget because I'm too busy making sure the kids take their vitamins. I'm supposed to exercise, eat better, get more sleep. The doctor's list of supposed tos is long and completely unrealistic for the life I'm living. There's a photo on my refrigerator, held up by a magnet shaped like a sunflower. It's from 3 years ago, before all the kids came to live with me. I'm standing in my small garden, the one I used to love tending, the one that's now overgrown with weeds because I don't have time for anything that's just for me. In the photo, I'm smiling, really smiling, not the fake smile I wear now. My face looks younger, lighter, like I'm someone who still has hope. In the photo, I'm wearing that yellow dress I loved, the one that made me feel pretty and bright. My hair is pulled back, but styled, not just shoved into a ponytail. I'm holding a basket of tomatoes I'd grown myself, big red ones that I was so proud of. Behind me, you can see the garden, neat rows of vegetables, flowers blooming along the border, a small bench where I used to sit in the evenings with a book. I loved that garden. It was my sanctuary, the one place that was mine. I'd spend hours out there on weekends, digging in the dirt, planting seeds, watching things grow. There was something meditative about it, something that quieted the constant noise in my head. But I don't garden anymore. The plot is overgrown now, vegetables gone to seed, weeds choking out everything I planted. I keep meaning to get back to it, but there's never time. The kids need me from the moment they wake up until the moment they go to sleep, and then I'm too exhausted to do anything but collapse into bed. I don't recognize her anymore, that woman in the garden. She's gone, replaced by this hollow shell who exists only to serve, to provide, to sacrifice. When did I stop being a person and become just a resource for everyone else to drain? The next morning comes too early, like it always does. My alarm goes off at 4, and I drag myself out of bed, every joint protesting. I dress in the dark, not wanting to wake Sophie, who sleeps in my room now, because there isn't anywhere else to put her. The house has 3 bedrooms. I've crammed beds into every possible space, kids doubled and tripled up, but there still isn't enough room. Sophie stirs when my alarm goes off, making a small sound in her sleep. I hold my breath, hoping she'll settle back down. She needs her sleep. She's only 6, growing and learning, and she doesn't sleep well even under the best circumstances. The nightmares wake her up at least twice a week, crying for her mother. She settles, her breathing evening out. I tiptoe around the room, pulling on my work clothes, black pants and a white shirt, the uniform of servers everywhere. My pants are getting loose. I've lost weight, not in a good way. Just stress, and not enough food and too much work. I used to have a bedroom that was mine, a sanctuary where I could close the door and have peace. Now I share it with a 6-year-old who has nightmares about her mother who left. I drive through the dark streets of Chicago, the city still sleeping, and I think about the doctor's appointment I need to make. The lump in my breast. I found it a month ago, in the shower, a small, hard mass that shouldn't be there. I know I need to get it checked. I know it could be serious. But I also know that if it is serious, if it's cancer, if I need treatment, then what happens to the 8 children depending on me? The streets are empty this early, just a few other cars carrying people to early shifts, to jobs that start before the sun comes up. The streetlights cast orange pools on the pavement. I pass closed storefronts, the occasional 24-hour convenience store with its harsh fluorescent lights, a bus stop where a tired-looking woman waits with a lunchbox and a defeated posture I recognize. This is the Chicago most people don't see. The early morning city where the people who make everything work drag themselves to jobs that don't pay enough, that don't appreciate them, but that they can't afford to lose. My Honda makes that grinding sound when I start it, and a new sound has joined it, a sort of rattling that I'm pretty sure means something in the engine is loose. I can't afford to fix it. I just have to hope it keeps running long enough for me to save up some money, though I don't know when that will be. So I've been ignoring it, pretending it's not there, hoping it will go away on its own, even though I know that's not how these things work. The lump isn't going away. I know that. Every time I shower, every time I change clothes, I can feel it. It might even be getting bigger, though that could just be my imagination, my fear making it seem worse than it is. I think about my mother. She died of breast cancer at 68. By the time they found it, it had spread to her lymph nodes, her bones, her liver. She went through brutal rounds of chemotherapy that made her violently ill, that stole her hair and her strength. And in the end, it didn't matter. She died anyway, wasted away to nothing, in so much pain that the morphine barely touched it. I was 35 when she died. I sat by her hospital bed in those final days, holding her hand, watching her struggle for each breath. She looked at me one day, her eyes cloudy with pain and medication, and said, "I never did anything for myself, Carol. I spent my whole life taking care of everyone else. And for what?" I didn't understand what she meant then. I thought she was just bitter, angry at the cancer, at dying. But now I understand. Now I see that she was trying to warn me, trying to tell me not to make the same mistakes she did. But here I am, 63 years old, ignoring a lump in my breast because I don't have time to take care of myself, because 8 children need me, because if something happens to me, I don't know what will happen to them. I'm becoming my mother. And that terrifies me. At the diner, I tie on my apron and start the coffee. My coworker, Linda, she's been here longer than I have, 23 years slinging hash and pouring coffee. She looks at me and shakes her head. "You look terrible, honey. You getting any sleep at all?" I laugh, because what else can I do? "Sleep? What's that?" Linda pours herself a cup of coffee from the first pot, takes a sip, and grimaces. "God, this coffee is awful. I don't know why people keep coming here." "Because it's cheap and we're open early," I say, pulling out the order pad and checking that my pens work. Linda leans against the counter, studying me with concern. She's in her early 60s, has that weathered look that comes from decades of hard work and not enough money. Her husband died 5 years ago, left her with medical debt that she's still paying off. She gets it, the constant struggle, the exhaustion that goes bone deep. "How are the kids?" she asks. "The same. Too many of them. Not enough of me." "Your kids helping out anymore?" I think about Daniel's text message, about the $40 an hour. "Not really." Linda shakes her head. "I don't understand these young people today. We raised them to be better than this." "I don't know what we did wrong," I say, and I'm surprised by the crack in my voice, the tears that suddenly threaten. Linda reaches over and squeezes my hand. You didn't do anything wrong, Carol. You're a good mother. You've always been a good mother. Sometimes kids they take advantage. They don't see what they're doing until it's too late. Or they see it and don't care, I say quietly. She knows about the kids, about my situation. She's offered to help, but she has her own grandchildren she watches, her own life that's stretched too thin. We're all in the same boat, women our age, raising grandchildren we never planned for, working jobs that destroy our bodies, surviving day by day. The morning rush starts, and I fall into the rhythm of it. Coffee, eggs, toast, refills, smiles, thank yous, more coffee. My feet hurt within the first hour. By hour 3, my back is screaming. But I keep moving, keep smiling, because this is what I do. This is who I am now. The customers blur together. The businessman who orders egg whites and dry toast, reading his phone the entire time, barely acknowledging my existence. The construction workers who come in loud and joking, ordering big breakfasts and leaving decent tips. The elderly couple who split a meal and make their coffee last for 2 hours because they're lonely and the diner is warm and we don't rush them out. I smile at all of them. Take their orders, bring their food, refill their coffee, clear their plates. Do it again, and again, and again. During my break, I check my phone. Still no response from Daniel. Instead, there's a text from Angela. Mom, can the twins stay tonight? I got called in for an extra shift and I really need the money. Of course, I type back. Even though tonight was supposed to be one of the 2 nights a week I don't have all 8 kids. When Angela takes her twins and I get to sleep more than 4 hours. Even though I'm so tired, I could cry right here in the break room of this diner. Because that's what I do. I say yes. Always yes. Never no. Another text comes in, this one from Rebecca. The daughter who left Emma with me 12 years ago and never came back. The daughter who calls maybe twice a year. Who sends generic birthday cards, who's built an entire life in California that doesn't include the child she abandoned. Hey Mom, just checking in. Hope you and Emma are doing great. Send pics. The casual cheerfulness of it makes me want to throw my phone across the room, just checking in, like she's a friend who occasionally thinks of us, not a mother who dumped her responsibility on someone else and walked away. I stare at the message, at the cheerful exclamation points, at the casual tone that pretends everything is fine. Rebecca doesn't ask how Emma really is. Doesn't ask about her grades, her friends, her struggles. Doesn't ask if Emma still cries sometimes for the mother who left. Doesn't ask if I need help, if I'm managing, if raising her daughter is destroying me. Just send pics like Emma is a pet or a garden, something to check in on occasionally and admire from a distance. I don't respond. I can't. Because if I start typing what I really want to say, I won't be able to stop. I want to type, your daughter had her first period last month and cried because you weren't here to help her through it. Your daughter made the honor roll and asked if we could call you to tell you, and I had to see her face fall when you didn't answer. Your daughter is growing up without a mother, and you're asking for pictures like that makes up for 12 years of absence. But I don't type any of that. I just put my phone away and go back to work. The day drags on. My shift ends at 2, and I drive home, stopping at the grocery store even though I'm exhausted. I have to make my money stretch, so I buy the cheapest options. Generic cereal, day-old bread, the chicken that's on sale because it's near expiration. I walk the aisles with my calculator out, adding up prices, putting things back when the total gets too high. Peanut butter, but the store brand, not the name brand the kids like. Apples, but only the ones in the discount bag, bruised and small. Pasta and jarred sauce because it's cheap and filling. Hot dogs because they're on sale, even though I know they're not healthy. Other shoppers move past me, carts filled with name brands and fresh produce and things I can't afford. A woman about my age passes with a cart full of organic vegetables, fancy cheeses, a bakery cake. I watch her and feel a spike of envy so sharp it startles me. I shouldn't be jealous. It's not her fault my life is what it is. But I can't help thinking, what would it be like to shop without calculating every penny? To put something in my cart just because I want it, not because it's the cheapest option? To buy the good peanut butter, the fresh bakery bread, the steaks instead of the chicken that's about to expire? At home, I start the afternoon routine. Kids arrive from school, exploding through the door with backpacks and energy and needs. Emma needs help with her math homework. The twins are fighting over a toy. Marcus's oldest, Tyler, he's been getting in trouble at school again, acting out because he misses his mother who left. I help with homework, mediate fights, listen to Tyler talk about his day while trying to find the right words to help him understand that his mother's leaving wasn't his fault, even though I don't entirely believe that myself. Tyler sits at the kitchen table, his history textbook open in front of him, but he's not looking at it. He's staring at nothing, his jaw clenched, anger radiating off him like heat. Tyler, honey, you need to finish that worksheet, I say gently. I don't care about the worksheet. I don't care about stupid history. What's the point? The point is learning and passing your class and... None of it matters, he says, his voice rising. Mom's gone. She doesn't care if I pass history. She doesn't care about anything. And there it is, the wound that never heals, the abandonment that defines his life now. I sit down next to him, put my hand on his arm. He flinches but doesn't pull away. Your mom leaving isn't about you, Tyler. It's about her problems, her issues. It's not because you weren't good enough or didn't matter enough. Then why didn't she take us? His voice cracks, and I see tears in his eyes that he's fighting not to shed. 11 years old and already learning that boys shouldn't cry, that showing emotion is weakness. Why did she just leave us behind like we were trash? I don't have a good answer for that. How do I explain that some people are too broken to be parents, that some people run away from their responsibilities because facing them is too hard, that his mother's leaving is about her failure, not his worth? I don't know, sweetheart. I wish I did. But I know that you matter. You matter to me, to your dad, to your siblings. And someday, you'll matter to people who choose to be in your life and won't leave. It's not enough. I can see it in his eyes, but it's all I have. Sophie sits at the table drawing pictures. She draws her family, but her mother is never in them anymore. Just her and me, and sometimes her dad Daniel, though he's getting smaller in each picture, more distant. Kids know. They feel the absence. They understand, even when we try to protect them from it. I look at Sophie's latest drawing. It's our house, rendered in crayon with the imperfect charm of a 6-year-old's art. There's the brown rectangle of the building, windows with curtains, a door. In front of the house stands a small figure labeled Sophie in careful letters. Next to her is a larger figure, gray-haired, labeled Grandma. Off to the side, almost at the edge of the paper, is a much smaller figure labeled Daddy. No mother, not even an empty space for her. Just gone, erased, like she never existed. That's a beautiful picture, Sophie, I say. She looks up at me with those serious eyes. Can I give it to you? I'd love that, sweetheart. I'll put it on the refrigerator. She smiles, just a small smile, but it lights up her whole face. Such a small thing, hanging up a child's drawing, but it means the world to her. These kids are starving for attention, for acknowledgement, for someone to see them and value them. Dinner is chicken and rice and frozen vegetables. I make it stretch for 9 people. The kids eat like they're starving, because they're growing, because they're always hungry. I take a small portion, making sure there's enough for everyone else, for the lunches I'll pack tomorrow. After dinner, I check my phone again. Finally, a response from Daniel. Mom, I understand you can't afford my rate, but I have my own expenses. Sophie's with you full-time now anyway, so adding a few more kids for a few hours shouldn't be a big deal. Maybe ask Angela or Marcus to help. The words hit me like a physical blow. Sophie's with you full-time now anyway, like she's a burden he's already assigned to me. Like the responsibility he created is now mine, permanently, and I should be grateful he's even acknowledging it. Maybe ask Angela or Marcus to help, like I haven't already asked them, like they aren't already drowning in their own struggles, like this family has anyone else to turn to but me. I read the message 3 times, each time feeling the knife twist deeper. Sophie's with you full time now anyway. He's made it official then, decided that his daughter is my responsibility, not his. No discussion, no asking if that's okay with me, just a statement of fact. I have my own expenses. What expenses? His fancy apartment, his new car, his weekend trips and restaurant meals and whatever else he spends his money on. He makes more in a month than I make in 3, and he has expenses? Adding a few more kids for a few hours shouldn't be a big deal? Not a big deal. 4 more children on top of the 8 I'm already raising, the 50 hours I already work, the exhaustion I'm already drowning in. Not a big deal. I sit on the edge of my bed, the only private space I have left, and I let myself cry. Quiet tears that run down my face and drip onto my hands. I cry for the woman I used to be, for the dreams I used to have, for the life I thought I'd be living at 63. I cry for my children, who I raised to be better than this, who I somehow failed to teach about compassion and reciprocity and family loyalty. I cry for my grandchildren, who deserve more than a grandmother who's too exhausted to be present, who's stretched so thin she's barely holding on. And I cry for myself, for the person I've lost in the process of taking care of everyone else, for the needs I've ignored, for the lump in my breast that I'm too scared to get checked. Sophie knocks softly on the door. "Grandma, are you okay?" I wipe my face quickly. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just tired. I'll be out in a minute." I hear her footsteps retreat, and I take a deep breath. Then another. I look at myself in the small mirror hanging on my wall. Red eyes, deep lines, gray hair that needs washing, a face that looks defeated. When did I become this person? When did I stop fighting for myself? I think back through my life, trying to find the moment where it all went wrong. Was it when Robert left and I decided I had to be everything for my children? Was it when I started saying yes to every request, every need, every demand? Was it when I confused love with martyrdom? Or was it earlier, in my own childhood, when I learned from my own mother that women sacrifice, that we give until there's nothing left, that our worth is measured by how much we can endure? My mother died exhausted at 68, having spent her entire life taking care of others. Her husband, her children, her grandchildren, her aging parents. She never traveled, never pursued her own interests, never did anything that was just for her. She was proud of that, proud of her sacrifices. I remember her funeral. How everyone talked about what a saint she was, how selfless, how giving. And I remember thinking even then that there was something wrong with that story, that a life spent entirely in service to others wasn't a life fully lived. I remember standing at her grave, watching them lower her casket, thinking, she never got to do anything she wanted. She never got to be anything except what everyone else needed. I swore I wouldn't be like her. I swore I'd find balance, would take care of myself too, would have a life beyond sacrifice. But I became her anyway. I followed the same path, made the same choices, taught my own children the same lessons about women being infinite sources of support and care. And now, here I am, 63 years old, raising 8 grandchildren, working myself into an early grave, being charged $40 an hour by my own son for the privilege of his time. The anger comes back, stronger this time. It burns through the sadness, the exhaustion, the resignation. I'm angry at Daniel for his coldness. I'm angry at Rebecca for her abandonment. I'm angry at Marcus for his passivity. I'm angry at all of them for taking and never once asking what I need. But mostly, I'm angry at myself for allowing this, for teaching them that it was okay to treat me this way, for never drawing boundaries, never saying no, never demanding respect. I pick up my phone and I look at Daniel's message again. And this time, instead of swallowing my anger, instead of accepting the unacceptable, I let myself feel the full weight of what he's done. My son is charging me money to help his own family. My son values his time at $40 an hour while assigning no value whatsoever to mine. My son sees me as a free resource he can exploit, and when I can't be free anymore, he puts a price on basic human decency. This is what I raised. This is the result of my sacrifices, my unconditional love, my endless giving. I raised children who learned they could take everything and give nothing back. And I'm done. The decision settles over me like a weight and a relief at the same time. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet, don't have a plan, but I know with absolute certainty that something has to change. I can't keep doing this. I won't. The next day, I call in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. I never call in sick. I work through colds, through flu, through pain and exhaustion. But today, I stay home. Calling Bill to tell him I won't be in feels like a revolutionary act. He's surprised. I can hear it in his voice. "You feeling okay, Carol? You need anything?" "I just need a day," I say. "I'll be back tomorrow." "Take care of yourself," he says, and there's genuine concern in his voice. Bill's gruff and doesn't update his equipment, but he's not a bad man. He knows I work too hard. I take Sophie to school and come back to an empty house. The silence is startling. I can't remember the last time I was alone in my own home during daylight hours. I make myself a cup of tea, real tea, not the quick gulp of coffee I usually manage while rushing around. I sit at my kitchen table and I think. The tea is chamomile with honey, something I haven't had in months. I bought it on a whim last year, thinking I'd drink it before bed to help me relax. But I never had time, and the box has been sitting in my cupboard, forgotten. The warm cup feels good in my hands. The steam rises, carrying the sweet, floral scent. I close my eyes and just breathe. When was the last time I sat down without a list of tasks running through my head? Without children needing something? Without an alarm set to tell me when I need to leave for work or pick someone up or start dinner? I can't remember. I need help, real help, not from my children, who have proven they either can't or won't provide it. I need to understand my options, my rights, my resources. I call the local senior center, something I've never done before, because I always thought of that as for old people, not for me. But I'm 63 and raising 8 grandchildren and working myself to death, so maybe I qualify as someone who needs help. The phone rings 3 times before someone picks up. "Chicago Senior Services, this is Margaret speaking. How can I help you today?" Her voice is warm, professional. For some reason, that warmth breaks something loose in me. "Hi, I'm not sure if I'm calling the right place. I'm a grandmother raising my grandchildren, and I don't even know what I need. Help, information. I don't know." The woman who answers is kind. She listens as I explain my situation, the words tumbling out in a rush. The grandchildren I'm raising, the children who won't help, the exhaustion, the money running out, everything. "How many grandchildren are you raising?" Margaret asks. 8. Well, technically they're not all grandchildren. Some are step-grandchildren. But I'm taking care of all of them. 8, she repeats, and I can hear the shock in her voice. "Are you employed?" "Yes. I work about 50 hours a week at a diner." "And you're 63? "Yes." There's a pause. "Ma'am, I want you to know first that you're not alone. We have many grandparents in situations like yours. Not usually with quite so many children, but you're not alone. And there is help available." Those words, "you're not alone," hit me harder than I expected. I feel tears welling up again. She doesn't judge. She just listens. And then she tells me about resources I didn't know existed. Support groups for grandparents raising grandchildren. Legal aid for establishing custody and pursuing child support. Financial assistance programs, counseling services. She talks about kinship care support, about subsidies that might be available to help with the cost of raising the children. She tells me about free legal clinics that help grandparents navigate custody issues. She mentions food assistance programs, help with utilities, organizations that provide school supplies and clothes for children in kinship care. There's also a support group that meets here at the center every Thursday evening, Margaret says. It's specifically for grandparents raising grandchildren. They share resources, offer emotional support, help each other navigate the system. I don't know if I can make Thursday evenings, I say. The kids, bring them, she says. We have volunteers who provide childcare during the meeting. That's part of the point, giving caregivers a break and a space to talk. She gives me phone numbers, websites, names of people who can help. She tells me I'm not alone, that there are thousands of grandparents in situations like mine, that there is help available if I'm willing to ask for it. I hang up and I stare at the list of numbers I've scribbled down. It feels like a lifeline. Not a solution, not yet, but a starting point. I make another call, this one to the doctor's office. I schedule an appointment for the lump in my breast. Next week, Tuesday at 10. I write it down, and this time, I don't ask anyone to watch the kids. I arrange for the school to keep them later. For the after-school program I've been too proud to use because it costs money I don't want to spend. But my health matters. I matter. And I'm going to that appointment. The third call is the hardest. I dial Angela's number, my hands shaking slightly. She answers on the second ring. Hey, Mom, what's up? I need to talk to you about the twins and about everything. Can you come over tonight after work? There's a pause. Is everything okay? I don't know yet, but we need to talk. She agrees, her voice uncertain. I can hear the worry there, but also something else. Maybe it's time someone worried about me for a change. I spend the rest of the day doing something I haven't done in months. I clean my house, but not for the kids, for me. I organize the clutter, put things away, create small spaces of order in the chaos. And in my bedroom, I find an old shoebox tucked in the back of my closet. I pull it out and open it, finding photographs from my life before. Me in my 20s, young and smiling, holding baby Daniel. Me and Robert on our wedding day, both of us so young, so hopeful. Me with my children when they were small, all of us together, a family. There's a photo of just me, taken maybe 15 years ago, before the grandchildren came. I'm standing in my garden, my hands dirty from planting, my face bright with joy. I'm wearing a yellow dress I loved, one that made me feel pretty. I haven't worn that dress in years. I don't even know if it still fits. I stare at that photo for a long time, trying to remember what that joy felt like, trying to remember who that woman was, the one who had hobbies and interests and a life that was hers. She's not completely gone. Not yet. She's still there, buried under years of sacrifice and exhaustion. And maybe, just maybe, I can find her again. That evening, Angela comes over after the kids are in bed. We sit at the kitchen table, the same table where I've had so many conversations, solved so many problems, always for other people. She looks tired too. She's 29 but looks older, the stress of single motherhood and working and school etched into her face. Her hair is pulled back in a ponytail, her scrubs rumpled from a long shift. There are dark circles under her eyes that match mine. What's going on, Mom? You sounded serious. I take a deep breath. I need to tell you something. And I need you to really hear me. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep raising everyone's children while destroying myself in the process. Her face goes pale. Are you talking about the twins? I'm talking about all of it. The twins, Emma, Marcus's kids, Sophie. I'm 63 years old, Angela. I work 50 hours a week. I have no savings left. I'm exhausted all the time. I have a lump in my breast that I've been too scared and too busy to get checked. And your brother Daniel, he charged me $40 an hour to watch Sophie and the others for 4 hours so I could go to a doctor's appointment. She stares at me, shock and something else, maybe shame crossing her face. He what? I show her the text message. She reads it, her mouth falling open. Mom, I didn't know. I didn't know it was this bad. The tears come then, mine and hers. How could you not know? I want to ask. How could any of you not see what this was doing to me? But I don't say that. I just let the tears fall. I love those kids more than my own life. But I can't keep sacrificing everything. I need help. Real help. Not just babysitting here and there, but actual shared responsibility. And if I can't get that, then we need to make other arrangements. What kind of arrangements? I don't know yet, but I've started looking into my options. Legal custody, so I can make decisions for these kids, pursue child support from their parents. Financial assistance programs, I'm going to start setting boundaries with all of you. And if that means some uncomfortable changes, then that's what needs to happen. Angela is crying harder now. Mom, I'm so sorry. I've been so focused on my own struggles, on just surviving, that I didn't see what I was putting on you. The twins, they should be with me more. I should be doing more. I reach across the table and take her hand. I know you're doing your best. I know you're struggling too. But we need to figure this out together, not with everything falling on me. We talk for 2 hours, really talk. She tells me about her struggles, her fear that she's failing as a mother, her exhaustion from working 2 jobs and trying to finish her degree. I tell her about mine, the bone-deep tiredness, the financial stress, the feeling of disappearing into everyone else's needs. And for the first time in I don't know how long, I'm honest about what I need. She promises to rearrange her schedule, to take the twins more nights. She promises to talk to Marcus, to tell him that he needs to step up more with his kids. She promises to support me in setting boundaries with Daniel and Rebecca. I'll cut back to 1 job, she says. It'll mean my degree takes longer, but I can't keep putting everything on you. The twins need their mother, and you need to have your life back. Are you sure? I ask. I don't want to derail your education. Mom, you've been derailing your entire life for us, for years. It's my turn to sacrifice a little. I don't know if she'll keep these promises. People say a lot of things in emotional moments, but it's a start. After she leaves, I sit alone in my quiet house, and I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Not hope exactly, but something close to it. A sense that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. The next few days are hard. I have conversations with Marcus, with the school counselors for the kids, with the senior center about support services. Each conversation is difficult, forcing me to admit that I can't do this alone, that I need help. Marcus comes over on Saturday morning. He looks uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot, not quite meeting my eyes. Angela said you wanted to talk, he says. Sit down, Marcus. We sit at the kitchen table. I've lost count of how many difficult conversations have happened at this table. I love your children, I start. Tyler, Emily, Jace, Madison, and Cooper. I love them all. But I can't keep being their primary caregiver while you work all the time, and I'm working all the time. We need to find a better solution. What kind of solution? His voice is defensive. I'm doing the best I can, Ma. I work to provide for them. What else am I supposed to do? You're supposed to be their father, not just their paycheck. They need you present, involved. Tyler is acting out at school because he's angry and hurt, and he needs his dad to help him process that. Emily is becoming anxious, having panic attacks that the school called me about because you didn't answer. They need you. I'm there when I can be, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. That's not enough. I need you to take them at least 3 nights a week. I need you to go to parent-teacher conferences and doctor appointments. I need you to be responsible for their homework and bedtime and all the daily stuff, not just show up when it's convenient. He looks overwhelmed. 3 nights a week? Ma, I work. So do I. My voice rises before I can stop it. I work 50 hours a week and I have 8 children to take care of. You work 45 hours and you have 5 children. We both work, Marcus. The difference is I'm doing everything and you're doing the minimum. He flinches. Good. He should flinch. But with each conversation, I also feel something shifting inside me. A sense of agency, of taking control of my own life instead of just reacting to everyone else's demands. I don't hear from Daniel. He doesn't call, doesn't text, doesn't ask about Sophie or check in on me. His silence is louder than words, a confirmation that he sees me only as a resource, not as a person with my own needs and limits. It hurts. God, it hurts so much. But it also clarifies something for me. I've been so afraid of losing my children's love that I've accepted being used by them. But love that requires me to destroy myself isn't really love at all. On Tuesday, I go to my doctor's appointment. The examination is quick, and the doctor refers me for a mammogram and ultrasound. She's kind but serious, telling me we need to get this checked soon. Doctor. Patel has been my doctor for 15 years. She knows my history, knows about my mother's breast cancer. She examines the lump carefully, her face professionally neutral. How long have you had this? She asks. About 6 weeks, I admit. Carol. Her voice is gentle but firm. You should have come in immediately. You know better. I know, there's been a lot going on. She looks at me, really looks at me. How are you doing, overall? And something about the genuine concern in her voice breaks me. I start crying right there on the examination table, still in my paper gown, and I tell her everything. The grandchildren, the exhaustion, the financial stress, the children who won't help. She listens, and when I'm done, she says, Carol, you can't take care of everyone else if you don't take care of yourself. Your health matters. You matter. I schedule the tests for the following week. And this time, when I need someone to watch the kids, I don't ask Daniel. I arrange for Linda from work to come over, and I pay her. Not $40 an hour, but a fair amount that acknowledges her time has value. The tests are scary. The waiting room is full of women, all of us anxious, all of us dealing with our own lumps and fears. I sit there, and I think about how I've been so busy taking care of everyone else that I've completely neglected myself. The mammogram is uncomfortable, the technician positioning me and repositioning me, the machine compressing my breast until it's painful. Then the ultrasound. Cold gel on my skin, the technician's face carefully blank as she moves the wand around, taking pictures from different angles. The radiologist will review these and will have results in about a week, she tells me. A week. 7 days of not knowing, of imagining the worst. The results take a week of anxiety, of fear, of imagining the worst. But also a week where I continue to make changes, to set boundaries, to reclaim pieces of my life. Marcus starts picking up his kids 2 evenings a week. It's not enough, but it's more than he was doing. Angela takes the twins every weekend, working her shifts around that commitment. The house feels less chaotic on those nights, less overwhelming, and I use that time to rest, to sleep, to do things I haven't done in years, like read a book or take a bath that's longer than 5 minutes. On Monday and Wednesday nights, when Marcus takes his kids, the house is suddenly quieter. Just me and Emma and Sophie and the twins on Monday. Just me and Emma and Sophie on Wednesday. It feels almost peaceful. I sleep 7 hours on Wednesday night. 7 hours. I wake up Thursday morning feeling more rested than I have in months. When the test results come back, I'm at work. The doctor calls my cell phone during my break. The lump is benign, just a cyst, not cancer, nothing dangerous. I sit in the break room and I cry with relief. Linda finds me and wraps her arms around me, not asking questions, just being there. It's okay, I manage to say. The lump. It's not cancer. It's okay. Linda hugs me tighter. Oh, thank God, Carol. That night, I gather the kids in the living room, all 8 of them, ranging in ages, with their different personalities and needs and hearts. I look at them and I feel the overwhelming love I've always felt, but also something else: clarity. I have something important to tell you all. You know I love you very much, right? They nod, some of them uncertain, sensing the seriousness. Emma sits closest to me, her hand finding mine. Sophie is on my other side, leaning against me. The twins are sprawled on the floor. Tyler sits apart from everyone, arms crossed, but he's listening. I'm going to keep taking care of you because I love you. But some things are going to change around here. We're all going to start working together more as a team. Even the youngest of you can help with small things, and the older ones, you're going to take on more responsibility. I outline the new system. Age-appropriate chores, expectations for homework completion without my constant supervision, family meetings where we talk about problems and solutions together. Emma, you're 12. I need you to help with dinner prep 3 nights a week. Tyler, you're 11. You're in charge of making sure the recycling gets taken out and helping the younger kids with their backpacks in the morning. Twins, you're going to be responsible for setting the table and clearing your own dishes. Sophie, you can help me fold laundry, the small stuff like washcloths and socks. Emma, who's 12, speaks up. Is this because we've been too much trouble? No, sweetheart, you haven't been too much trouble, but I've been trying to do everything by myself. And that's not good for me or for you. Families work best when everyone contributes. Sophie, quiet as always, asks, Are you going to leave like my mom did? The question breaks my heart. No, honey, I'm not leaving. I'm staying right here. But I'm also going to start taking better care of myself so I can keep being here for you. Over the next weeks, the changes continue. Some days are harder than others. The kids push back against the new expectations, test the boundaries. But slowly, a new rhythm emerges. Tyler complains about the recycling, forgets to do it. I don't nag. I just let it pile up until he realizes no one else is going to do it. Eventually, he does it, grumbling the whole time, but he does it. Emma takes to cooking with surprising enthusiasm. She asks if she can try new recipes, if she can plan whole meals sometimes. I realize she needed responsibility, needed to feel useful and capable. The twins turn chore time into a game, racing each other to see who can set the table faster. They're not perfect. Plates end up in wrong places, forks and spoons sometimes get mixed up. But they're trying. Sophie folds washcloths with careful precision, lining them up in neat stacks. It's meditative for her, I realize. She likes the order of it. The predictability. I cut back my hours at the diner from 50 to 40 a week. It means less money, but I qualify for some financial assistance through programs the senior center told me about. I'm learning to accept help, to understand that needing assistance isn't a moral failing. I start attending a support group for grandparents raising grandchildren. Sitting in that circle of exhausted, loving, overwhelmed people, I realize I'm not alone. We share strategies, resources, frustrations, and hope. The first Thursday I go, I almost turn around and drive home. I don't want to be one of those people, the ones who need support groups, who can't handle their lives. But I make myself walk through the door. There are 12 of us. We sit in a circle in a room at the senior center. Margaret, the woman I talk to on the phone, facilitates. We go around the circle, introducing ourselves. I'm Carol. I'm raising 8 grandchildren. There are gasps, sympathetic looks. I'm Janet. I have 3. I'm Robert. I have 2. I'm Patricia. I have 5. We talk about our struggles, the money issues, the exhaustion, the children who dumped their kids and walked away, the anger, the resentment, the guilt about feeling angry and resentful, the fear of what happens to these children if we can't keep going. And for the first time, I don't feel alone. These people get it. They understand in a way my friends who have grandkids they see on weekends can't understand. Janet talks about her daughter who's in prison for drug charges. I'm 67 and I'm raising a toddler, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. I'm too old for this. I should be retired, traveling, enjoying my life. Instead, I'm potty training again. Patricia talks about her son who died in a car accident, leaving 5 children behind. Their mother took off right after the funeral, just couldn't handle it. So here I am, 62 years old, with 5 kids, ages 4 to 14. Robert talks about his daughter, who abandoned her kids to party and use drugs. She calls sometimes, makes promises, breaks them. I've stopped telling the kids when she says she's coming to visit because she never shows up. We all have variations of the same story. Children who couldn't or wouldn't parent. Grandchildren who need stability and love. And us in the middle. Too old for this, but doing it anyway. Because what else can we do? One evening, Daniel shows up at my door. I haven't seen him in person in almost 2 months, not since I stopped asking him for help. He stands on my porch, looking uncomfortable. He's wearing his work clothes, expensive slacks, a button-down shirt, leather shoes that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. His car, a sleek silver sedan, sits in my driveway, so new it practically gleams. Can we talk? I let him in. We sit in my living room, the distance between us feeling vast. He looks around, notices the chore chart I've put on the wall, the new organization system, the small changes I've made. Sophie's drawings are still all over the refrigerator, visible from where we sit. Mom, Angela told me about what you said, about everything that's been going on. I wait, not making it easy for him. I didn't realize, he starts, then stops. He looks down at his hands. That's not true. I did realize, I just didn't want to see it. Didn't want to acknowledge that I was taking advantage of you. The admission hangs in the air between us. When I sent you that text, about the $40 an hour, I was thinking about it like a business transaction. Childcare costs money, and I was actually giving you a deal compared to what I'd pay someone else. But Angela made me see that's exactly the problem. I was treating you like a business transaction instead of like my mother, like family. He looks up at me, and I see tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm really, truly sorry. I've been selfish. I've been taking you for granted. I left Sophie with you because it was easier for me, and I never once asked if it was what you wanted or needed. I feel my own tears coming, but I hold them back. I need to hear all of this. I want to do better. I want to actually help, not just occasionally throw you money and think that's enough. What do you need from me? It's the first time any of my children have asked me that question. What do I need? Not what do the kids need? Not how can they make things easier for themselves? But what do I, as a person, as their mother, need? I need you to take Sophie on weekends. I need you to be her father, not just someone who provides financially. She needs you present in her life. He nods. Okay, I can do that. I need you to stop treating helping your own family like it's a favor you're doing me. This is your responsibility too. You're right. I know you're right. And I need you to understand that I'm not infinite. I have limits. I have needs. I matter too. You do matter, Mom. You matter so much. I've just been too selfish to show you that. We talk for a long time. It's not a complete resolution, not a magical fix. There are more tears, more admissions. He tells me about his own struggles, the guilt he feels about Sophie, the fear that he's a bad father, the way he uses work to avoid facing his failures. I tell him about my exhaustion, my fears, my anger at all of them. But it's a beginning. He commits to taking Sophie every weekend, to being more involved, to actually being a father instead of just a paycheck. He apologizes again, and this time it feels real. He's not just sorry he got caught, or sorry there are consequences. He's sorry for what he's done, for how he's treated me. When he leaves, I feel something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the possibility of it someday. The weeks turn into months. The changes I've made stick mostly. There are setbacks, days when I fall back into old patterns, when I say yes when I should say no. But those days become fewer. I use my new free time, the hours when I don't have all 8 kids, to rediscover myself. I join a book club at the library. I start walking in the mornings before work, watching the sunrise over the Chicago skyline. I buy myself new clothes, nothing expensive, just things that make me feel like myself again. I even start dating, sort of. A man named Frank who comes into the diner regularly asks me to dinner. I almost say no, almost tell him I don't have time. But then I catch myself. Remember that I'm allowed to have a life, and I say yes. The dinner is nice. Frank is kind, a widower who understands loss and loneliness. We don't fall in love, but we become friends, and sometimes that's just as valuable. Frank is 70, retired from teaching high school English for 40 years. He tells me about his wife who died 3 years ago, about the loneliness of their empty house, about how he comes to the diner because it's warm and busy and helps him feel less alone. We talk about books. Turns out we both love mysteries. We talk about our children and grandchildren. We talk about growing old and whether we're doing it gracefully or just surviving it. He makes me laugh. I'd forgotten what that felt like, laughing with someone, not just chuckling at kids' antics, but really laughing at jokes and stories and life's absurdities. Rebecca calls one day, her usual casual check-in. I interrupt her cheerful small talk. "Rebecca, we need to talk about Emma." She goes quiet. "What about her?" "She's 12 now. She needs her mother. And I need you to either step up and be involved in her life, really involved, or we need to make this official. I'm looking into legal custody." "Mom, you can't do that." "Yes, I can, and I will. Emma deserves stability. She deserves to know where she stands. And I deserve recognition for the fact that I've been raising your daughter for 12 years. "I send money," Rebecca says, defensive. "You send $200 a month, Rebecca. Do you know how much it costs to raise a child?" Emma's braces alone were $1,200. Her school fees, clothes, food, activities. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on your daughter. Money you should have been paying. The conversation is hard, full of tears and recriminations and hurt. But I stand firm. I'm done being convenient for everyone else. Rebecca doesn't become Mother of the Year overnight, but she starts calling Emma more regularly, twice a week instead of twice a year. She sends actual letters, not just generic cards, telling Emma about her life, asking about Emma's interests. She talks about maybe visiting next summer, actually booking plane tickets, making real plans. It's not perfect, but it's more than she was doing. And Emma lights up when her mom calls, comes back from their conversations hopeful in a way she hasn't been in years. Marcus steps up too, slowly. He starts taking his kids for entire weekends, giving me real breaks. He's not perfect, still struggles with the emotional weight of single parenthood, but he's trying. He starts going to counseling, dealing with his anger at Clarissa for leaving, his fear that he's failing his kids. He cuts back his hours at work slightly, accepts that he might not be able to give his kids everything materially, but he can give them himself. Tyler's behavior at school starts improving. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly. The fights become less frequent. He starts doing his homework. His teacher tells me he seems less angry, more engaged. "What changed?" she asks. "His dad stepped up," I say simply. 6 months after I started making changes, I look around my life and I see something different. The house is still chaotic sometimes, but it's manageable chaos. The kids are adjusting to the new expectations, learning to be more independent. I'm still tired, but it's normal tiredness now, not the bone-deep exhaustion that comes from sacrificing everything. I have my first full weekend alone in years. All 8 kids are with their respective parents. Emma with Rebecca, who actually flew in from California, the twins with Angela, Marcus's kids with Marcus, and Sophie with Daniel. Friday afternoon, I wave goodbye to Sophie. Daniel picks her up, and she runs to him, excited. He swings her up, and I see genuine affection in his face. Maybe he's learning too. I walk through the rooms of my quiet house, noticing the silence, the space, the freedom. The sun streams through the kitchen windows. The refrigerator hums, the clock ticks. Normal sounds, peaceful sounds. I should enjoy this, I think. I should revel in the peace. But instead, I feel a little lost. My entire identity has been wrapped up in taking care of others for so long that I don't quite know who I am without that role. So I decide to find out. I get in my car. The grinding sound is gone. I finally saved enough to get it fixed. And I drive to the art supply store. I used to love painting years ago before life got in the way. I buy canvases, brushes, paints. I spend money on myself, on something that has no practical purpose except bringing me joy. The art store is overwhelming at first. So many choices, so many colors. I wander the aisles, touching brushes, reading labels on paint tubes, acrylic or oil, canvas or paper. The variety is dizzying after years of only choosing the cheapest option for everything. I let myself splurge a little. Good brushes, not the cheapest ones. A set of acrylic paints in colors that make me happy. Bright yellows and deep blues and vibrant greens. 3 canvases, a small easel. It comes to $80, money I would have considered wasteful 6 months ago. But now I pay without guilt. At home, I set up in the small corner of my bedroom. I pull out that old photograph of me in my yellow dress, standing in my garden, smiling with real joy. And I start to paint. I'm not very good. My technique is rusty, my hands uncertain. The colors don't mix quite right, the proportions are off. But it doesn't matter. Because for the first time in I don't know how long, I'm doing something just for myself. Just because I want to. The painting takes shape slowly. It's me in that yellow dress, in that garden, but different, older, grayer. With lines on my face that tell stories of hardship and resilience, but still smiling, still finding joy. I paint into the night, losing track of time, rediscovering the meditative peace of creating something. When I finally stop, my back aches and my fingers are cramped, but I feel more alive than I have in years. The painting isn't finished, but it's a start, just like my life. Not finished, not perfect, but a start. The next family gathering happens naturally, everyone coming over for Emma's 13th birthday. Daniel is there with Sophie, who's glued to his side in a way she wasn't before. Marcus brings his kids, who seem a little more settled, a little less angry. Angela arrives with the twins, who've started calling her Mom more and calling me Grandma, a shift that feels right. Even Rebecca shows up, flying in from California for the weekend. Emma is shocked, thrilled, uncertain. Their reunion is awkward but genuine. Rebecca brings Emma a gift, a jewelry box with a note that says, "For my daughter, who I'm so proud of." Emma cries when she reads it, and Rebecca cries, and they hug for a long time. It's not enough to make up for 12 years, but it's something. We gather around my kitchen table, all of us squeezed in, eating cake I made but didn't stress over. And I look around at this messy, complicated, imperfect family, and I feel something unexpected. Not resentment, not exhaustion, not even the martyred pride I used to feel about my sacrifices. Just love, complicated, bounded, realistic love. Daniel catches my eye and mouths, "Thank you." I nod, but I also think, "You're welcome." But also, I'm not doing this for you anymore. I'm doing it because I choose to, because it brings me joy, but not at the cost of myself. That's the difference. The boundary, the line I finally learned to draw. After everyone leaves, after the kids are in bed, I sit alone in my kitchen with a cup of tea. The house is messy but not destroyed. I'm tired but not broken. I have work tomorrow but also a painting to finish, a life to live. My phone buzzes with a text from Frank asking if I want to catch a movie next week. I smile and text back, yes. Then I open my banking app. My checking account has $1,000 in it. Not much, but more than I've had in years. My savings account, which was at $0, now has $300. It's a start. I pull out the list of goals I made with the support group. Small things, achievable things. Pay off the credit card debt, build an emergency fund, save for a trip, maybe to visit my sister in Florida, paint more, read more, live more. I'm 63 years old. If I'm lucky, I might have another 20 years, maybe more. That's not nothing, that's time. Time to be more than just a caretaker, a martyr, a resource. Time to be me. I look at the painting in my bedroom, the woman in the yellow dress who's both past and future, young and old, burdened and free. She's smiling, and now, so am I. Because I finally understand something it took me 6 decades to learn. Loving others doesn't mean destroying yourself. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're selfish. And saying no sometimes is necessary for being able to say yes to the things that truly matter. My children didn't learn these lessons from watching me sacrifice. They learned to take because I taught them I was infinite. But I'm teaching them something different now. I'm teaching them that love requires reciprocity, that relationships are two-way streets, that everyone's needs matter, including mine. It's a hard lesson for all of us, but it's the most important one I could give them. The night is quiet. I finish my tea and stand at my kitchen window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. The city glitters in the darkness, millions of lights, millions of lives being lived. Somewhere out there are all the people I love, the children and grandchildren who've shaped my life. They're living their own lives now, carrying their own burdens, making their own choices. And here I am, still standing, still breathing, still learning how to live not just for others, but for myself. It's not the story I thought I'd be living at 63, but maybe it's a better one. A story not about sacrifice, but about balance. Not about martyrdom, but about boundaries. Not about losing myself, but about finding myself again. I turn off the kitchen light and head to bed, where Sophie is already sleeping, her small form peaceful under the covers. I climb in beside her, careful not to wake her, and I close my eyes. Tomorrow, I'll wake up at 4 for my shift at the diner. I'll pour coffee and serve eggs and smile at customers. I'll come home and help with homework and make dinner and manage the chaos. But I'll also take my morning walk. I'll spend time on my painting. I'll text Frank back about that movie. Because I'm not just a grandmother, not just a mother, not just a waitress, not just a caretaker. I'm a person, and I matter. That's the lesson I'm learning. Slowly, imperfectly, but surely. And it's the lesson I hope I'm teaching these children I love so much. That everyone deserves respect, everyone deserves boundaries, and everyone, including the person who gives the most, deserves to receive too. The story of the woman who was charged $40 an hour by her own son isn't really about the money. It's about what the money represented. The complete lack of value placed on my time, my energy, my life. It's about a family that took and took until there was nothing left to take. But it's also about what happened next. The moment I decided I was worth more than that. The moment I stopped accepting the unacceptable. The moment I chose myself, not instead of them, but alongside them. And that moment changed everything. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were giving everything while receiving nothing in return? Have you ever had family members who treated your love like an infinite resource they could drain without consequence? Have you ever looked at your life and wondered where you went, how you disappeared into the needs of everyone else? If so, I want you to know you're not alone. And it's not too late to make changes, to set boundaries, to reclaim your life. Tell me your story in the comments below. Let's talk about this, share our experiences, support each other. Because that's how we survive these situations, by knowing we're not alone, by learning from each other, by standing together. And if this story resonated with you, if you saw yourself or someone you love in my words, please hit that like button and subscribe. These stories need to reach the people who need them most, the grandparents and parents who are drowning in everyone else's needs, who've forgotten that they matter too. Help me reach them. Help me remind them that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary, that they deserve respect and reciprocity and rest. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, you matter. Your needs matter. Your life matters. Don't let anyone, not even family, make you forget that.